Okay, so we're going to get started again. This time we're going to do one that's called text view, but I want to redo the last one we just did, but I'm going to do it at the speed of light. I'm not going to do it as slow because some people are still, I'm noticing some people are still having problems with it. So I want to make sure you can at least add a new view and change the view controller and get the app delegate set up because this is kind of an important, crucial thing to do. We don't do it for every one of the examples. I just pick single view and I just work with that the way it is. So this is probably worth the while to do this a second round. I want to do this a second round because I want to show you a modification of it as well at the same time. So at the speed of light, we're going to do it this way. We're going to go ahead and open up an Xcode project, create a new one, or if you've already did the last one, you got the last one working just fine, leave it alone. You can just watch right now and don't do anything until we get to the new part. So go ahead and click single view application, go ahead and click next. This one, I'm going to call this one text view, or my text. I think I'll call it my text view, And it's going to be an iPhone app, and I'm going to press next, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. And first thing I'm going to do is put in my main view controller. So I'm going to change the way that this is written so I don't have to use the storyboard, which is the reason why I'm redoing this. I want to use an XIB file, so I'm going to have to add it in anyway and get rid of that storyboard because I just don't feel like using it. So instead, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go File, New, File, and I'm going to add in, and this is the part people were having problems with. Some people didn't select Coca Touch. They were you were selecting the OSX, which is a problem. So you click on Objective-C class if you had that problem before. Last one I created was from a UI view controller, so you can see it actually automatically comes up for me with the settings I used last time. So this one's going to be called main view controller. And I'm going to go ahead and press I'm going to go ahead and press create on that one. Now you notice, and then I'm going to make a slight modification to this one. If I want to, I can actually get rid of this other one that's in here. I can get rid of the main storyboard if I want. I don't need to necessarily leave it in the project, and I can also get rid of this view controller if I want. Don't necessarily have to leave it in the projects. But I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. But I just wanted you to know you could delete it if you wanted to. Alright, and so what we did before, after we created that class, then we changed the app delegate if you remember. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to add the imports. So the way you do it is you just review one more time on this. You are first adding the new view controller. And I did mine with an XIB file automatically. If not, you can add an XIB file. If you do that, you come up here and you go File, New, File. And let's see, down here on the bottom it says User Interface. I can add a storyboard. I can add a window. I can add an application. Over here, C++, I can add to my iOS project. I can add a C file if I want. If I'm using, let's say, Objective-C, OpenGL or something, I can go ahead and add information to that from a different source code file. Other resources where I'm going to get things like a text file, a property list, and we're going to look at some of these later today. But I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because I'm not going to add an XIB file. But I'm just going to show you that you could add those options if you wanted to. Alright, so I'm going to put the header file in. So I'm opening up appdelegate.h. Add the new header file, the new import for your new view controller, for those people who got stuck with this. And we put that in there. And then I added the two properties, and the two properties that I added were for the UI view controller that I put in there, the nav controller and the root view controller. So I created two. I copied and put this in here. And these were two properties that I'm going to go ahead and synthesize. So I came over here to the appdelegate.m and synthesized those two properties right underneath the add implementation. And one was called a nav controller, and the other one was called a root view controller. So now I have my two properties synthesized over here. And then all I did was essentially change the appdelegate.m file. And I replaced the method, and I put this method in here. And this method here was the one that was allocating the new view controller. So self root view controller equals main view controller alloc. So I took and created it. If you see this here, let me just copy and put this in here as well. And in the app.delegate.m, if you see what I'm replacing, actually, you're looking at nothing. You're looking at the storyboard that gets loaded up automatically, which is how I'm able to just pull this out, because I don't necessarily need to launch it and just return. Instead, I want to launch that navigation controller. So I put this in here, change this around, get rid of this problem here, and I believe the rest of it just cut and pasted just fine. So let me just fix my formatting, and then I'm back. This is what we just did. Oops, there we go. So I'm back to where I was, and that was that whole tutorial done in about 2 seconds time. Because if you know you're done, you can just do it in like 2 seconds time anyway. So anyway, so that was just, if you had problems with the last one, that is just a review of what we just did. So I'm going to take this project now and make sure it works actually first. Should work just fine. Yes, it does. Build successfully. Now I'm going to add a text view inside of this one. And I'm going to use this one with a new, just this main view. So there's our project. Our main view tab controller, or toolbar, I should say. So let's go into this one here, and this one here is called text view. Text view, and text view here is located out at the bhacker.com website. It's object-oriented programming, source code, examples, text view project tutorial. This one also has a solution file for it as well, but the solution file is a very old project type that's based on an XIB interface without a storyboard. So that's why I decided to recreate that other one, because what I did is I took away the storyboard, and now I have a project that just works with an XIB file from the last tutorial, which is why I redid that. Because right now you don't have the option to create a project without a storyboard, and I wanted the old format, because I want to show you a little trick with that one. So, long story short, let's follow along now with this one's called text view project. So on the text view project, and then I'll show you how to do the text view. This is a programmatically way of doing it. Now we're going to create a simple text view application that demonstrates the use of the app delegate, which is what we just worked with. So the text view is added using the source code and not the interface builder. We're not going to do anything with the dragging and dropping. We're going to do it all programmatically. We don't have to create a single view application. We just did one. I just created a single view application that does not use or does not select and use the storyboard feature. It uses an XIB. We have it set up for us already. Perfect. So Xcode is going to automatically create a directory structure, yada yada. It creates an XIB file for us. We're going to modify this XIB file programmatically, and we're going to add the following method to the app.delegate.m file. And here we have an interesting couple of lines here, and the couple of lines say that we're going to add a UI navigation controller. So I'm going to take a look, because I believe we did this already. So I'm going to go back to my Xcode project and compare the lines of code with the application did finish launching. Application did finish launching with options. No, this is just application did finish launching. Application without options. So this is the application will resign, application did enter background, application will enter foreground, application did become active, application will terminate, which is our basic life cycle of the application. So I could copy this one here and stick it in as a new method, because the method doesn't actually exist. It's an old method style. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it underneath the current method to see what the differences are. And notice that we're probably just going to add a navigation controller. So let's take a look here. So what we have then, and I'm going to get rid of this underscore for the view controller, is an application that adds a UI navigation control. So here's our UI navigation control allocked, but we allocked it from main. And we're going to add a subview to the view, and then another view to the view. Well, we're pretty much doing the same thing we just did in the last tutorial. So let me just see if there's anything of value, of difference here. And it's the UI navigation controller. We're using our root. We have here's our self UI navigation control alloc. We're good. It's navigation controller. We're good. So I'm going to leave this alone, actually, and take this out. So I'm not going to make this modification, because we're going to use that project we just ended with, and we'll see if this works. So we're going to create a variable for a text field. And after creating and declaring the variable for the text field, we're going to write a property for that, and then we're going to declare it on the object of the UI text view, and then we're going to called by the text view when it's connected to a label. So what we're going to do this is in the view controller, the UI view controller, we're going to add this guy here as a declaration. So first I want to do is make sure my project, I don't know if I ran my project. Did I run my project? I think I did. It worked. So I'm going to click on the XIB file. And the XIB file, if I click on the little tuxedo icon, there we go, and go into the .h file. So now I'm in main view controller.h. And in the main view controller.h, I am going to paste in and put my opening and closing brackets in there, a text view, a UI text view. Now I could drag and drop a text view and stick it on the canvas, but I'm not going to do it that way. So instead I'm going to do it this way. And so now I'm going to create a property underneath it for the text view. So underneath, so I have, this is like, you'll see this a lot in the code. I have a tendency to do one or the other, but not both. This is taking, and you're defining a UI text view. And down here we've got a property we're creating for the UI text view. This way we don't have to create setters and getters, but we have it as a private data member as well, not just public.
Did you associate this with the text field? Did you try?
Not yet. We don't have to. We can just do it programmatically.
Oh, okay.
That's the purpose of this tutorial, actually. I mean, it's nice to be able to drag and drop and everything, but it's also nice to be able to know what you're doing from an Objective-C programming perspective. You're making an instance of the object. The instance of the object is of the data type UI text view. And we're going to call it text view. And then we're going to make a property out of it, and we're also going to synthesize it. So you can put it here, long story short, it's a learning exercise. You can put it here, you can put it, and you can also put it here, both. So it's common to see it in both places. Why are you going to stick it here? Because this makes it private. It doesn't make it so it's controllable, and it's not out here. So you could stick it here. Stick it here, and it's out here, no problem. But you can programmatically get at it as a property, as a member, data member, private data member of the class. You could do more manipulation with it, which is what we're going to do. So, all right. Anyway, so we're going to remove all the code in the viewcontroller.m file and replace it with the following. And I don't know if I want to go that far. Instead, I'm just going to take a look to see what it's doing. Obviously, we're going to synthesize the text view. So I'm going to come over, switch over, and I'm using main viewcontroller.m. And I'm doing this because I wanted to use this XIB file instead of the storyboard, which is why we set it up this way. No big deal. So let's see. I'm going to add underneath my implementation, I'm going to put in my text view. So I synthesize the text view. And let's take a look here. The view did load is the view did load. View did unload, excuse me. What is this? It should auto rotate. I'm not going to care about the rotation, but here's another one. Here it says set up the text view. So I'm going to copy this method in here to set up the text view. This is the text view that we're going to put out onto the file, onto the window. So I got the view did load. I didn't have a view did unload. I'm going to stick this on the top here. This is in my viewcontroller.m. I have a couple things here that I'm going to have to change because of the word wrapping, but let's take a look here. So the text, set up the text view method is going to take my self text view. This is why we made it an object. It's a member of self now. If it's a member of self, it's a UI text view. We can go self.textView is equal to, we'll allocate a new UI text view alloc, just like person, what we did yesterday, an employee. And initialize it with the frame, well, that's going to be the view frame. That's what we've got. And then set the color of the text to black color. I'm going to make mine blue color, actually. Blue color. Change it around a little bit. And set the font to Arial. and the size to 18. Well, I'm going to make mine 20. Make mine a little bit bigger. And then the delegate is going to be equal to self, which is okay, but let's take a look over here, and it's going to say that the assigned to the ID UI text view delegate from inappropriate main view. Ooh, okay, so the delegate is different than the main view because of the change that we did. So let's take a look back up here and see what we needed to do. We needed to, and I didn't do this, and that's the reason why I looked at that comment a few minutes ago, is I need to make sure that we're using the UI text view delegate protocol with the view controller, because we're going to add some functions to make it self, but we're going to give self a belonging to a protocol. It's going to follow the protocol. Self is the window. It's going to follow the UI text view delegate. So in my viewcontroller.h file, right after where it says UI view controller, I want to add the delegate. And then if I'm going to add that delegate, this message is going to go away. So I'm going to go back up to the viewcontroller.h. Right after where it says UI view controller, add the protocol. The UI text view delegate is inherited from app delegate. App delegate's in the project already. We don't have to include anything for this. So we have it automatically through the inheritance. So this is really an inheritance sort of example as well, showing you that this is the protocol we're going to abide by. If we go back to the .m file, oh, we see the message has gone away because now self can be the text view delegate is the self. So the text view .delegate, we are a member because we're following the protocol of the UI text view delegate, which is inherited from app delegates. It's part of the delegate inheritance line. We're just extending it to include the protocol. Therefore, we can abide by it. We can make ourselves a text view, which means that's what equals self. The text views are us. We are now a text view. So when the window opens up, we're a text view. That's what this is doing. So we're going to set the text, the white color. What did I set? The background is going to be blue. No, the text color is going to be blue. The background is going to be white. It's going to be an interesting text view. And the text here, I have to change this guy here because it word wrapped a little bit here. So let's just change this one. And let me take those line returns out of there. So text view says this is a lot of text. This is a sample text view that shows in the window when the app first starts up. Click the text view and see the keyboard open up. And start typing away to make changes. Okay, that's a long message. We're going to set the return type to return key. Remember when we set the property with the little window that's on the right hand side, we set the property to return to done. We could do it programmatically because sort of we're putting this on programmatically. We might as well do it this way programmatically. We're going to set the keyboard. We're going to set the scrolling to yes. We're going to set the auto sized, make it flexible. We're going to add the subview. And we're going to add to the subview where it's going to be self text view. Add the text view to the subview. So we're going to put the text view out on the screen. All right. So let's take a look here at the rest of the code. I feel like I've left something out. Got that part from the view controller. Let me see, the viewcontroller.m file. It's going to include the view did load, not doing anything. We're gonna use the simulator, so the auto rotation doesn't matter. We copied this setup text view in here. Our view did load is going to need to do something, and our view did load is going to have to set the self title to something, and then it's going to run the that method we put in here that's going to set up the text view. And the set up the text view is just an automatic way of creating the frame, setting the font, setting the size, color, stuff like that. So we're going to add this code to the view did load method, which is right here actually. So I'm going to get rid of this guy here. Put the code in the view did load that will start when the app starts up. It's going to set the title to this text view title, whatever we're going to call our text view. And self space setup text view. Well, that's this method up here. Run this method that's going to put the text view out there and show us our text that we like. And then self text view is equal to nil. Nil us out. Garbage collect us. We're just going to stick us out there and then garbage collect us. Get rid of it because that's going to take up a lot of memory, especially if we have like a huge file or something we're loading in that text view. And so on the view will appear method, I don't think we really even need that one. We'll leave that one out. We'll see what happens after we take all the stuff away. The view did disappear method. We're not going to be nice. We'll just leave that out too, but you can put this in a little notification on default center, remove the observer, keyboard, notification. Leave that out. Keyboard, we'll hide. Text view did begin editing. That's an interesting one. That one we'll probably want to put in here. And save action. We'll put the save action in too. So I'm going to copy these last two ones, stick them in here because I'm not going to be too garbage friendly. Not too app friendly. So I'm not going to put the other ones in there. And the other ones are basically cleaning up the mess. Taking the keyboard away, cleaning up the mess when we're done. When we close the app out. So I'm just going to put these guys in here because I do want to have the save action work. When I save the text view. Is it really going to save it to anything? No. So if we have the navigation, we put the navigation bar out there and we put a right button out there, we could save the text. Because we do have a navigation bar out there because remember we put a navigation in the app actually that we made to begin with. And then the text view did begin editing. We'll put a save button on the UI navigation bar that we have out there. The only problem is I don't know what we called our UI navigation bar, so we'll see if that actually works. It may or may not work, depending upon what we've done with it. But now we have an app where the view did load, should set the title, and it should run this method and see if this method works. So it's going to run the program actually right now. Build succeeded. We run the project. I'm not quite sure if we're done with the project yet, but let's run the project. We're pretty good. We're pretty done with the project. So if we start editing, see where this done came from? Let me do this again, actually. Let me close the project for a second. Let me show you something of significance. The reason why we're doing this is that this screen is empty. We did not drag and drop or stick anything on the view. We're doing everything programmatically. And what we did was we created a text view, and the view did load. We loaded this text view. We set the title to here. So let's just say, I'm going to set the title to something else so you can see what I'm doing here. New title now. Okay. Actually, I'll just put new title because I know it's too big. And then down here we created a save button. And the button is going to say done on it. And we created it done, item done. So the UI button system, it's a system button, it's going to say done on it. The done is going to give us our save. It's going to run our save action because the target on the selector, and make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. So the UI button, bar button system item done, the target's going to be equal to the save action. The save action is down here, where the save action is going to put in our right bar button item. So and it's going to set the right bar button item to nil, and it's going to resign our first responder on our text view. So if we run it, I'll show you what this does. When you click done, it's going to resign the first responder because that's the only thing our save button is really doing. So I can click in here. I've got my resign. I'm going to take all this text out actually until about here, and then I'm going to click done. And my first responder didn't resign. This was supposed to resign. So our functionality is a little bit buggy. I can go back and fix it. But the done button is now gone. Have you noticed? So let me run it again so you can sort of see what I'm looking at. Actually, I probably should set the... I probably could fix that, actually. Nothing. Started editing. Now I got a done button. Done button's gone. Should have resigned the first responder. Didn't do it. Probably because I need to set a property I haven't set yet. But, purpose of this tutorial was to show you that there's nothing there. You want to do it a different way, we can go ahead and do it this way. We do have a text view. I can take a text view. Hello. Oops. I've got the little, oh, there we go. I added a text view to the text view. Move the text view over so we can see the text view inside of the text view. I'm going to put this text view underneath this text view. This guy, the view, is following a UI text view delegate. So it is a text view. So that's why I have a text view, a view that's a text view, and I have a text view inside of a text view. But you see the outer one is covering up the inner one. So we don't really need to do it this way. We would do it this way with this text view, or we would do it without the text view. We do it programmatically. More commonly seen programmatically, because what are you going to use a text view for? You're going to go open up a file, read the file, and put it into a text view, format the text view the way you want it, have the person edit the text view. On the Save button or on the Done with the text view, they're going to commit the changes to whatever file it is. But we didn't open up a file, so we don't have that functionality there we're working with. Instead, we're just showing a text view programmatically. And then we're just putting our words inside of the text view with setting the text view text. Questions on the text view? Let me make sure I haven't missed anything in the tutorial here. Compile and run it. No, we're done. I left out this functionality here, which probably would have resigned to my first responder. Yeah, keyboard will hide. Setting the notification to hide the keyboard. If you put the code in that I kind of bypassed a few minutes ago there, it should work. Actually, here, I'll do it. We'll just fix it. Well, there's no hurry with this one. Actually, let me just go back to this one. Somebody, let's see, somebody smells like flowers. Somebody who just came in. Smell like flowers today.
It's a good flower or bad flower?
It's a flower.
Like,
It's like a flower smell. I'm like, I smell something. It smells like flowers.
Weed.
Huh?
You're
No.
not talking
I'm not talking about illegal flowers. I'm saying you have like a floral, not a floral.
I get
Is
that.
it floral? It's probably like a bath wash or something. I don't know. It's like a wash or a soapy kind of floral kind of smell. I'm real sensitive to smells, if you can tell. But it irritates my nasals, so I'm like, might have to go outside and get some fresh air. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like the smoke yesterday. No, I mean, no offense. I don't mean to offend people when I say that, but...
I stopped smoking today.
Did you stop smoking today? There's your reason right there, because it irritates my... I'm slightly allergic to... I have really bad allergies. I just warn you ahead of time. It's not... Don't take it personally. It's like, I know someone walked in, I'm like, as soon as someone walked... I can walk into people's houses and tell if you have a cat, a dog, a bird. I can tell exactly what you have. That's why I'm like, someone walked in and there's like a floral kind of... There's a floral scent. And it's this guy?
Yeah.
You smell like flowers? It's like a natural nature kind of flower thing. It's not as bad as the cigarette smoking, so thank you for not smoking. That one I'm allergic to. The flower thing just upsets the nasals. But anyway, back to this tutorial. Let me just finish this up. The view will appear. Let's just copy this stuff in here. And then I want to get my keyboard to go away. So keyboard will hide. And the text view did begin editing. I think I put this method in already, so it was this one here that I left out. It was these two methods I left out. I put the last two in. I did not put the keyboard will hide and keyboard will show. It's the manual way of resigning the first responder because we didn't set the return to done. It's the old way of doing it. But because we're using an XIV file, we can do this. This will work just fine. Some of these older methods don't work on the storyboard. So let me just go back into the XIB file. I'll stick them right here where they were supposed to go, actually. And if they cause me an error, I'll just leave them out. But let's see. Keyboard will hide. And this one's going to tell me that the UI keyboard is depreciated. Yes, I know, it's old. So depreciated method. So let's see if that fixes our keyboard issue. And yeah, we're getting some depreciated messages there. It may or may not necessarily work. Because it is a depreciated method, it's the older way of hiding and showing the keyboard. It may not necessarily work unless we downgrade the project back to a older project type. But let's see if the done button now works. And it doesn't work, so anyway, it's fruitless at this point. Because it's using an old technique that's done automatically now for us at the storyboard. So we don't have to worry about that. We already have the messages and the activity being performed with the storyboard. But the example used the old XIB, not the storyboard, which is why I sort of did that technique. So maybe you can see the evolution now of the storyboard. What they did is they just kind of got rid of the XIBs in general. And the nibs. Well, the nibs were before the XIBs. No more nibs. Now we have XIBs and no more XIBs. Now we have storyboard. So as you go through the generation of examples you find out there on the internet, you'll see some of these older ones, and then that's what that's about. Some of the methods don't work, which is a problem because you look at this old example and you go, I'm going to do it with the current storyboard. Problem is you don't need it anymore. You don't need to resign the first response. It's done automatically for you now. In fact, you don't even have to set the return key to done anymore either. It's done for you automatically. But they left the option in there because people like to do it. Because you can, if you can set it to done, you can take it off. You can set it to something else, so it doesn't necessarily behave the same way. Anyway, I believe we covered that tutorial. That was the text view tutorial, which means it's time for another. You guys want to do another? Or you want to take a break? We should do another. All right. And we're going to do another. And the other one which we're going to call next is going to be called introspection. This is the one I'm going to kind of... I don't need this one. I don't need any of my old projects for introspection, so I can get rid of everything here. If you run the old project, if you downloaded the old solution to the project we just looked at, and actually there's something else. Well, I'll run this one first, and then I'll run the introspection one. And if you look at the old project, you see the, if you download it, let me show you where I've got this from. Where it says text view project tutorial. That's the project we just looked over. If you go into the project solution, this is like a 3 or a 4 API version. Very old Xcode project. And you can see that the older project, if I run it, iOS 5.1, we're on 7. So this is older than 6. You see, if I start this stuff here, and well, the keyboard's broken on here too. That's funny. Text view works, but my keyboard's not going away, and I don't see my done button, and I don't see my controller on the top either. I see the different controls though. To find this, see the dictionary. I see the text view show up. So, but I'm still not seeing the same behavior as I thought I would expect with the done button. The done button is actually working on the navigation controller. It's not working on this project. So. But the code should work theoretically, and I'm not getting any error messages because it's legacy code on an old emulator. So it's not really predictable in terms of what's going to be supported and what's not going to be supported. Long story short, that's why people upgrade to the current project type. The other thing I could possibly show you if I haven't wasted, I haven't emptied my garbage can yet. Let me put this text view back. Which one was it? This one? My text view. I think it was called this one here. Put it back. I was too quick to throw the project away. I can show you something else in this project. And if you click on the main, actually, let's see if I can get this to load in the emulator first. So I've got the simulator out. You see I've got some icons out there. So if I press escape, I used to be able to... Let's stop this one here. So you remember yesterday I ran a bunch of examples, and I have some other examples here in the past, and they all have this default little ugly looking icon thing. It's not really ugly. It's actually kind of nice compared to the other one. It used to have a different icon in the older version. See these icons that show up here? Here's Saturday school from yesterday, and it's a puzzle. It's a different one I have, and a test, and my toolbars I just ran. I can change the icon that shows up. In fact, I can hook up my iPad and have the new icon show up when I run the app on my new on my app if I change it. And how do I change it? Well, I don't know if I've showed you guys this yet, so I'm going to show it to you now. If you click on the text view project on the top here, and this is the newer one, so this is the 7.0 version of it. And you see you have your tabs up here. You have your build settings, your capabilities, your general tab. If you go into general and you scroll down a little bit, you see where it says app icon, and you can select an app icon here. And if you press on this itsy bitsy little arrow here, I clicked on it too fast. Let me see if I can get out of here. Well, click on that little arrow next to it. Here, let me go back. Oops. Now I'm back. Scroll down, you see app icon, launch icon. When you launch it, you have a splash screen that shows up. It says, "Hey, this is my beautiful program," and it takes you to the program. The app icon is the one that sits there on the desktop. So if I click on it where it says source app icon, I can do a couple things. I like to actually put the icons in the app. And when I downloaded TextView, I noticed I had the iPad icon and the Retina icon for ITU logo that I can use. So, and I know these are formatted correctly, so I want to show you a couple little tricks. So I'm going to copy these into my project. This is the new project. So I'm going to copy the item, copy
Does it
item.
have any specifications? It should be 2 by 2 image or anything.
There is specifications to it, and I'm going to show you how to get around that in a few minutes here.
What format?
PNG is the best. You can use JPEG, GIF, anything you want really. The PNG is works the best with preview, and I'm going to show you something in that. I'm going to show you a trick in a few seconds here. These I know work, so I'm going to show you how to add them, and then we're going to add a different one. Stick it in there. And then I'll show you what I'm talking about, because you'll see an error message, and then you go into preview and you change the resolution to match the error message that you're going to get. Which is kind of an interesting way of doing it. Anyway, so here I have these two icons. I put the two icons in here. On the source, if I click on this itsy bitsy little arrow to the right, I see I've got the resolutions here for 29.40 60 2 times the iPhone. What am I making here? This is an iPhone Retina 3.5. So I can drag the icon from here. I used to be able to. Let's just see if this works here. Or I can drag it on top and stick it in from here. So now I have to go back because I clicked on the wrong thing. Here we go. The interface is not what I call the best. I'm going to do it this way though. Just maybe I shouldn't have copied it in, but let's just do it this way. Make the screen a little bit smaller so I can get them both on here at the same time. Drag her in. If I drag her in, I see a positive plus, and it looks pretty good. And then this one's the Retina one. Spotlight. I don't know what the spotlight is, but they all seem to work. So this is pretty good. So now if I run the app, let's just run it again. Build failed. Let's just take a look why. Asset catalog compiler. Probably didn't like one of my app icons. Spotlight. 5, 6, 7. Let's just get rid of this one here. Try her again. Asset compiler. Image asset ambiguous content. Let's take a look here. It's not going to like it, is it? Well, it's going to tell me that I need to be 58. So application icon is 57 by 57, but should be 58 by 58. Let me show you how you fix that. So I've narrowed it down to this icon right here. I don't even know which one it was, but I'm going to take this one and make it 58 by 58. How do I do that? This is the trick I'm trying to show you. If I open it in preview, and I go into Tools, and then I go into Adjust Size. I see this is set on 57 by 57, and Xcode doesn't like it. So I'm going to change it to 58 by 58. And this is set to scale proportionally. Sometimes I have problems when it's not scaled proportionally. So I'm going to just do it this way. and then change them both manually. So now I have an icon that's 58 by 58. Press OK. It's going to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Make sure I'm still on the right 58 by 58. Now I'm going to come over here, remove it, drag the 58. Was it this one? I'm pretty sure it was this one.
Yeah, it's
Okay, good. Put it in here. Now run it. It says build successful and the error goes away. You put the wrong app icon in there, the project's not going to build. It's not going to tell you anything. It was off by 1. It was 57 by 57 instead of 58 by 58. It's extremely picky. You got to have it right. So, long story short, now if I close this one, now I see my text view icon is now that ITU logo. So here's the other thing you can do, and I don't recommend pirating information off of the internet, but people do this. App icons. Let's call this one here purple. I don't know, I'm just going to type something in because I want to go, really I want to go to images. Now let's just take this little purple ball right here that's 300 by 300. Save the image as, let's call this one here purple. There's a way of adding them to the project. If you add it to the project, you got to edit it outside of the project and put it back into the project if the project's not good. If you drag it, put it into the project, which is what I'm going to do right now, you'll see it showing up over here. So I can delete these guys out of here if I want to, actually. Let's just remove them and put them into the trash. These are the two ITU logos. I say, I don't want to have an ITU logo in there. I want this other one, this purple thing I just downloaded.
It's not completely filling up the space, right? Yeah.
Say that one more time.
It's not completely filling up the space, the icon. The idea.
It's not going to. It's gonna. It's square. The icon, and that's why I'm doing another one for you right now. We're gonna see it change in a few minutes. We can make a square, put a square icon in there, and it will look like that. It will completely fill up the space. This isn't gonna completely fill up the space because this is a round icon. The image is round. The background is clear. So we have a clear border around a round icon. Wait till you see this other one you're gonna look at. It's gonna look different. Actually, I probably should have done a square one because I think this other one's round as well. But here it is right here. So if I drop this guy in here, I'm going to get an error message. I'm looking for the error message, and the error message is going to tell me it needs to be 57 by 57. Actually, I should just go ahead and fix it because I already know what size it's supposed to be. So let's just do this. Or 58 by 58. See, this is 300. So this one is actually going to give me a better looking icon because the other one I was small and I made it big. It's a little fuzzy. Not looking that good. This one was big. I made it small. See, now it works. Oops. Now, how bigger it looks? But we're still round. You don't get that many round icons, by the way. I mean, a lot of people want to make it look as big as possible, so they'll use something square, and they'll fill up the whole space. Technically, if you look at this here, you can see it actually on the desktop. See how you have the white around it? It's clear background. So it's transparent. I shouldn't say clear. It's transparent. I could make the whole thing fill up the whole box, because this is a square. So if I go into preview as an example here, well, let's do it this way. Let me get a bigger one. Let me get a square one, actually. I'll see it looks square. I don't think it really matters. You probably understand what I'm saying already. Picture. Let's go here, phone.png. I don't know why, but I'm thinking, let's just do a square one. And let's see, this one doesn't even have a background, which is good. So let's just save the image as a square.png. And then here's my square. My square still does have a border on it. So I don't know if this is a really good example to do this with, but I think you can probably understand what I'm talking about here. 256, let's just make it 58 by 58. Well, now it's kind of small. Drag it in. Run it. Stop it. Still kind of small. It's because there's a border around it. You get rid of the border, pick one that doesn't have a border, translate it in, put it in. You can make the icon bigger if you want. Actually, I don't know. It looks pretty good size to me, though. Doesn't look, oh, it looks a little smaller, but it's because of the border around it. Again, it's the white stuff that's around it. If it was all the way out to the edges, it'd look bigger. But, that's how you put an icon on your app, by the way. Shows up on your phone, too, if you have a phone. It's really easy. The only thing is you got to figure out the size. You're not going to go through and memorize all the sizes. Instead, you're going to put it in here. You're going to get an error message. This one's going to give me an error. Oh, and build successfully, actually. That was the spotlight, though. So this one's going to come up with the spotlight. And then we have the iPhone app that's bigger. That's 60 points, 40 points, or 29 points, which is really 58 by 58. If you go online, you can see the specs for all of the icons for it. So the splash screen, you can set how long you want the splash screen to run. I have a splash screen app, actually. Let me show that to you real quick as well. So while we're on the topic of icons and splash screens, and if you go out and, now this is more what I call my digital arts set of apps. If I go into the workshops folder, I used to have it here, I still do, this is good. So if you go to bhacker.com/workshops, I did a workshop recently on iOS. Actually, it wasn't recently, it was in September, a year ago. And this one was called, for digital arts, here it is here, iPhone, iPad development for digital arts, about a year ago. In here I've got a splash screen example that I remember having. There's also some really cool animation stuff. If you guys want, we can do some of these tutorials this afternoon if you want. Gosh, actually, these are fun because, well, they're not very iOS programming. They're not very like Objective-C programming. Like, it's more playing with images, moving balls, and animation and stuff, which it's okay. It's just not what I'd call hardcore programming, but it's easy stuff. There's one in here that has a splash screen on it, using a splash screen right here. So let me save this. It's a finished app that uses a splash screen, and let me show you what this one does. If you save this stuff in the app, which is what I just did, see this little, this is the default image, and it's going to use the icons from the logo. But if you see the splash screen in here, what you're looking at, this app is going to give you the specs. But the specs are old because this is back in the iOS 5 or 6 days. Actually 5.1. So if I run the app, I'll show you real quick what this thing does. There's a little splash screen. Stays up there for a few minutes. And then goes away. We just set a timer on that. You just drag and drop, put the splash screen over there, set the timer. Just goes, oh, you know, and here's your app specs, but the app specs are old. In fact, that's what they raised it by 1. It used to be 57 by 57, now it's 58 by 58, which we just discovered. And that's for the non-Retina iPhone, which is actually kind of interesting because this, it might be interesting to see what it looks like on my Retina iPad, which is going to have different specs. But and then there's a little exit button on there as well. I could put an exit button on your app. These are the, oh, look at that. That's on here too. These were loaded on the emulator for 5.1. That was that text example. Otherwise, the emulator is pretty empty. So, another one out here that you might find interesting related to app icons, if I remember if it's still out here, is I'll have to look for it later. Websites that are apps. This is the one I wanted to show you. Let's see if this one is still working. Another thing people have a tendency to do, and I'll just show this to you because I find it interesting. You don't want to learn Objective-C programming. You don't want to learn Java programming. You don't want to learn programming in general. You're a website developer. But you want to create apps. You want to look like an app developer. Well, these are what I call shell apps. These are websites. These are apps that are really websites. And then people went, oh, you know, this is really too hard for people to figure out. And companies like PhoneGap came around and said, all right, we'll not even have to let them make website apps. We'll just make a higher level API. Put all the crap inside of the API tool. You build an app using web development tools, HTML, JavaScript. Package it in this PhoneGap API wrapper. Upload it to the Adobe website. I'll convert it into an app. You get an app that's for iPhone, for iPad, for iOS, you know, for everything. BlackBerry, anything you want. You just press a button and select what kind of apps you want. Well, you're not writing a native app. You're not programming in Objective-C, which is why I'm not showing it to you in this class. We're not doing anything computer science or software engineering wise. Instead, we're doing web development. It's good if you're a web developer and you want to make apps. So there's a lot of interest in that. This is what I call a hybrid. This isn't using PhoneGap, and this isn't using it's using a web view. This isn't using PhoneGap. This isn't using third-party HTML, CSS, but it is using a storyboard. And in the storyboard, we've got, this. Remember this tab bar controller we looked at? We got some tab bar controller in here with a couple of buttons on the bottom. And let me just show you what this thing does. We'll see if you, and then we'll take a look at the code for a second. And it's loading it off of the internet. Oh, there it is. So this one does work. So we're going to look at the code in a few minutes, but these are websites that are loaded on the internet. The app is, each one of these screens has a web view on it. The web view is going to a website and loading a website. So there's no app. It's all on the internet. So you notice how slow it ran. It was running a bit slow. So if you find, sometimes when you find apps you download and you look at them, they're not responsive, or if you don't have an internet connection, it doesn't work. This type of app also wears your battery down because you're using it. Not only are you using your data for this app, but it's also pulling back and forth. It's lowering the battery. It's like having your web browser open constantly, which is what you're doing. So not the most efficient, but take a look here. Looks like an app to me, doesn't it? Nice little sophisticated stuff, a lot of graphics and stuff on it. And let's look at this one here. It's responsive. White for a while. So usually you'll see people do it. They put loading, you put a little GUI thing out there that says loading, or a little status bar. Oh wow, it's loading. And you're thinking, why does it take that long to load? It should come up instantly, right? Then that's the key right there. Oh, they're pulling it from the web. Here's another one. It's just a blog or something of some sort. It's cool. We'll go out to use a web browser, go out to it, you'll see the same thing, essentially. They just format it so it's narrow, and they put user-friendly controls. There's a couple libraries, Sense of Touch and stuff. You can actually put buttons and stuff on the website that look like mobile app buttons. Makes it look like an iPhone app. It's a website. So we got, here's another, oh, this one's, funny thing is, this is a very old example, about a year old, but they're all still there. Which means, yeah, this one's still here too. Tells you there's a market for it. If they're all still here, and this is about a year ago that all these URLs were put in here. So let's take a look at the code real quick. This is a no-brainer. In fact, this actually works in with the example I was just giving you earlier today on the tab view controller. Let me show you something here again that you can do. So I used a contacts and forth for the icon. If you come over here and you look at this, you see that the icon here was selected from icons that I put into here. So in here we got a fourth icon and a first icon. Here we got first.png, a little ball. Here's a first, a bigger one. Here's a second one, a little square. So you can stick icons in here, some recording files. It's got, no, I was like, where's the icons here? The icons are up here. Here's a paint icon, a little paint guy here. So you gotta find icons that are gonna look good on your tabs. You just tell the tab, use this icon. So you drag some icons, stick it in there. You load the icons up. You got some pretty good looking icons. On the storyboard itself, it's all contained in here. These are UI web views. How do we get UI web view in there? We went over here and we went UI web. UI web view. You drag a UI web view and you stick it over into the screen. And then in the controller for these screens, each one of them, and here's the address right here, is loading up an address. So if I take this address here, this is, I don't know which one this is, I just picked one at random. This is the third one. I don't know which one that one is. But on the view did load, we have, actually we'll make one here. I'll just make one here. I'll just make an app. Show you how to do this. We'll just make one and then you'll see what this looks like. So Open up Xcode. We're gonna change. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here. Just Xcode is here. I'm gonna just save this project here. I'll just cut and paste out of this project. This one's called website. Let me cancel this here. Close the simulator. This is the guy I'm going to use sort of like a template. Open up Xcode. Create a new project. Make a single view out of it. Call this one website app. We'll just make one. The little screen, it brings up a website. I'm going to say create. And it's going to say it already exists. Let's say I'm going to cancel this here. Let's go another website app. I've called it website app before, it looks like. Create it. Go to storyboard. Drag a web view, stick it out here. This is how fast you can create an app if you don't know how to have any app development skills, but you want to take a website and stick it in your app. This is not what I call programming. Click on the little tuxedo icon. Let's take and make a property out of that web view. So go to the .h file, take the web view, click on it, press the control button, drag it over, make a property out of it. I call this one web view. Web view. That's pretty good to me. Or I'll call display web. Display web. Press on the connect button. Do we have attendance? I thought I heard you coming. Let me take a pause here. Okay. No, not for you. I'm just going to pause it. Let's resume this example here. So what I'm doing is a fake app. Well, a fake app. This is not really a fake app. It is a native app. It's not using PhoneGap though. So don't spend all your money on PhoneGap. Do it this way. If you're gonna do it this way. Because you could load the website in the app using this technique as well. Because all you have to do is drag and drop an HTML file, stick it into the app, load it up into the web view. That's what the web view is loading. It's an HTML file. So I'll show you both actually because it's kind of interesting and it works together. But this one is going to go to a live website. So I put the web view in here. Whether I'm loading from a live website or loading from inside the app, I can accomplish both. The only problem you get with this versus using PhoneGap is you have to do one for Android, one for iPhone, one for BlackBerry. You gotta do it manually. The PhoneGap, you just put the website in there. You take all your HTML files, you stuff it in the app. You click a button, and PhoneGap creates 5 different apps for you. But they're big. They're heavy. They're not quite optimal because you have this. It's like using Visual Basic. That executable file is really big compared to a C file. So it's the same thing. You get a higher level API. But anyway, long story short, let's build an app in 5 minutes here. So I put a web view in here. And on the view did load, I'm going to load something in the web view. So I'm going to switch this over to the viewcontroller.m file. And I'll just use this one as a design pattern here. This is the website app. I'm going to load this guy up. Kind of cheat sheet a little bit because I don't feel like copying. I mean, I don't feel like typing, so instead I'll just copy and paste. Plus, I don't remember all the syntax. I'm going to just take this view did load over here. We don't have a web view 3. We have a different web. I called it something else, so we're going to have a different name. I have to synthesize it as well. I have to remember to do that. So I'm going to copy the view did load code here from that app over there. Stuff it in this view did load over here. Fix all the errors I'm going to have in a few minutes here. And I'm going to have a couple of errors because I didn't do this one over here. So over here I called the sucker display web. So I'm going to need to create a synthesize this property over here. So at synthesize display web. Here it is. And then I have to change this guy down here to display web. Display web. And then it's going to load my request. And this is going to go to this website here, so I'm kind of curious now. I'm going to run it. See what is that website? Let's just take a look here. Build successful. Called your 2-second app. What did I learn in iOS today? How to make a 2-second app. Here it is. I didn't have to go to college for this. This is what I call they say non-politically correct thing. The poor man's app. You can't afford to go to college, can't afford to learn how to program. You don't even need a MacBook for this, really. Probably do it through an emulator. Just load up a website. And what is this really? This is this website right here. I put it in a web view and I stuck it in the app. So what does this really look like? if you actually load it up in Chrome or you load it up in mobile Safari, you actually see what it's going to look like on the mobile phone. Otherwise, it looks like this on a regular old PC because it's small. Because we really want it to look like that. So you make it look like that. Now in here, we only take up this. So you start at 0, 0, and you go down to the size of the. And you look at this little button here. It looks like it's from an iPhone. It's actually a button here. So if I do this, oh, not going to let me. Not going to let me. Well, that's because the screen's not formatted correctly. I'd have to change the size to get this, but look at that. It looks like an app, doesn't it? But it's on a website. So now I have this, stuff that, goes this way, and it's a poor man's app. It's made in, and it got little tabs on the bottom here. If I didn't know any better and I was inside of an app, I'd think it was an app. So, anyway, I'm glad this website's still up, although I keep knocking it for it. It's, oh, some of it's bad, it looks like. But, see, didn't format well, but I'm in Chrome. I picked Chrome because Chrome has a better, look at the back button up here. You guys see this back button up here? Looks like an iPhone back button, doesn't it? It's a fake, like a little navigation controller bar button. So anyway, if you're bored, poor man's website or web app, you just put it out here and you can show your boss you got an app in 5 minutes time. Here's the programming for it. Actually, better yet, just go to the website, download that other one. You have a lot. Or if you want a single view, here it is here. So you go, well, okay, so, I don't want to make it look like it's on the web, right? I want to make it look like it's from within my project, right? So let me show you something else. This is going from a website. We see the web URL right here. It's just pulling it in and putting it into a web view. Did I start this up again? Yeah, okay, good. I'm like, I have to get this good stuff recorded. Not really. Otherwise, I'm gonna have this big old camera sitting in front of me. If I don't follow the rules, I'm gonna have a big old camera stuffed in front of my face. So I just record it manually. So we have one here that has a text field. I've got one that's got it inside. Let me see if I can find it real quick. If not, I'll find it at the lunch break and I'll show it to you after lunch. But there's the website that are apps. So we also have one that takes it internally. And I want to say that it is the message box view with text over it. Let's just take a look at this one. It's already a completed project, actually. And wow, what was this thing called? That's a splash screen. So that's why I delete everything off my website. Splash screen, text view. Well, hold on one second. Let me just download it again. Animate text screen changes. No. This one is called Web View. Okay, Web View. Had it out here. So now I got two of them out here. Web View. Web View. Yep, this is the one I want. Watch this one. So this one is a web view, but it's not pulling anything from the internet. Instead, this is for the people who say, okay, you know what, I can't even afford a website. This is even cheaper. I don't even want to put a website out there with a mobile app out there and something that looks like an app. Instead, I'm just going to create some HTML code. So in the resources, I'm going to have this one here. It's called webview.html. And it's an HTML formatted website. And better yet, I'm going to make this look even fancier. I'm going to put it on top of a picture. So I got a picture in here too. I got a background picture. Nice little, lovely little background picture. I don't want to do any Objective-C programming at all. I want to get away from this. I just want to take a website and put it inside of my app. And I'm not even going to load from the internet. You're going to see this runs a little bit faster. So if I run the sucker, it looks like this actually. Show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you the code for it, which isn't really that much code. My web display. Oh, I even put a menu bar up here. So web display. 10 reasons you should write something every day. And see how the background stays the same, but the web view scrolls. Well, it's just a scroll on a web view. It's the website. It's this code right here. HTML code. that's put on top of a background image that's stuffed inside of a web view. So if we take a look at the web view, actually, this is an old project type. Does that look familiar to you? It's just a regular old view. Didn't really build an app with this. We're just going to take these little pieces and put it on there. If I take a look at the view controller here, make the real estate a little bit bigger. Oh, nothing much, pretty much going on here at all, except for I got navigation controller release. So this is old. Oh my god, it's very old. Let's just go take a look at here at the view controller. We're going to have this really nice little method here. It's called view did load, same one I put in before. But instead of actually even creating the web view, we're going to do this programmatically as well. We're going to set the title to web view. Remember that? We saw that a few minutes ago with the navigation controller. We're just setting the title. And we're going to set the web view. Well, where's this web view coming from? It's coming from... Oops, I've got too many screens opened up over here. If I look at the .m implementation, I'm synthesizing web view over here. I've created a web view, property. You don't actually have to do this, is unnecessary. You can take the project we just did a few minutes ago, actually, modify it. In fact, I can just take it here and put the file in. So it's going to load the file from over here. So what we got in here is a read handle, NS file handler, and it's going to read the file at a path, and the file that it's going to read is this one over here. And so it's going to load in the load HTML string base address, HTML string, and then the release. I can't copy and paste this because it's a very old project type. But essentially what we're doing is we're taking the file, loading the file into the web view and showing the user the web view, actually. And let's just take a look here. I just want to refresh my memory on the controller. Controller's the same. Let's take a look. HTML string. Trying to find out where we're setting the string. Let's take a look here. HTML string. I probably put it on the property of the web view. What did I call the string? Web view. Webview.html. Oh, that's why it's confusing. Call it web view, you're going to call it web view, so you're going to do web view. It's called the same thing, which is why it's not easy to point out the HTML file. But you take the HTML file, we'll do it, actually we'll just do it after lunch. We'll make a project because I feel like I'm rushing it right now. Because it's already 11:59, we're going to 49. If you would take just a file, instead of going to a URL, you set the URL to this NS string here, which is the path of the file. And the file is called WebView, and WebView is right here, which is why this is confusing. And the extension on the file is called HTML. So here, actually, let's just do it this way. I'm taking it out of our WebView here. What did I call the other project? That other one I just made a few minutes ago that I loaded the URL into. I called website app? No. I think I called it my text view. No. Another. I think I called it another something. Here it is, another website. In my another website here, I'll just do this with it. And I'll just upload this here next to the video when I upload the project, so those people who want it can have it. This one loads a website. This one loads a website from the web, from the internet. So you don't even have to write your Objective-C code anymore. Uncomment this, and you'll get a website loaded from. Then this is the URL for it. And then we'll paste this in here. I have to add the file in there because the file doesn't exist. I have to put in here the file from here. Where'd it go? This one was called WebView. And WebView had a background file. and it had something else. So you set the path to this file. Let's just take this file here, the HTML file. Put it in, let's just put it in the resources, supporting files. Hold on 1 second. This way, I can do it this way. There's my supporting files. Very good. All right, let's go back up to this. Here, we're going to get the error message coming up. Let's see, and we called this a display view, I think we called it. A display view. Display, what did we call it? We called it display web. Display web. So put the background, I set the display web, was it WD, the W. So I set the opaque background, hold on a second, let me change this one, set the color. Display web. Display web. I guess I could have called it the same thing. We don't need to release this anymore. We'll just take that out of there because we have automatic garbage collection. And do we put the background in here too? Or is this just the, this is just the display web. So let's just do it this way. Here's our 10 reasons you should write something every day. That's our HTML file. So for those of you who want, this loads a basic HTML, any HTML actually, HTML file into a web view in the app. No internet required. I could put the background image in there, but I'm getting lazy. So actually, let's just take a quick look over here. How lazy am I? I got the background. I take the background image, drag the background image in here too. And let's go take a look at the view did load over there, see what's going on with it. Oops, that's the wrong one. This one here, I believe. Yep, it's this one. Let's just go refresh my memory on this background image. So now we have the text loaded. And let's see. That's the web view. Oh, you know what? I believe the HTML page might actually be loading the background image. But let's just take a look here. Nope, I don't think it is. It's not. So let's take a look real quick. Probably figure out where that's being loaded. No, I think it is actually. Let's take a look. Actually, let's just run it. Yeah, the property's being set somewhere. Let's just take a little look. I just have to refresh my memory where I stuck it. Maybe it was in the app delegate. Nah, I'll leave it to you guys to do. I think the background image is being set on the canvas. So let's just take a look at the XOIB file. I'm not going to worry about the background image, but I think it's actually being set on the view window. But this is an old project. Here it is here. UI web view. Oh, that's what they did. Alright, so we can go into our storyboard. Here's our UI web view. We can stick the The image is being placed manually onto the view. So it's like this image view. And then inside of the image view, we're sticking that background view. So the background view is out here. So image, here we go, background. So when we run it, the background view, and then we have the web view that's transparent because we made it the background opaque so you can see through it. So there's our background. So, but I don't have the scroll set correctly on this, so I have to set the scroll on it. So, and then cover the background. So, because of where I put it on top of the web view instead of underneath the web view. I'd have to stick it underneath the web view in order to get the scroll to work correctly. But anyway, I will put this project up with the recording so you guys can play around with this if you want. It's just a simple project here that is going to show you, and we'll just do it this way, the web view on. And the other part of it, well, here, let me undo that. Anyway, I'll let you guys play around with it because you can put it on top of the view controller itself. So, and then you can use that to, like that. I just did it a second ago here. Let's just see real quick. There you go. So now it's filling up the view. And then you got to load the web view on top of that. So you change the order around, you get the web view to show up on top of the background view if you want a background on your web view. Some people like to put, you can color the background instead, because it's a transparent web view. It's loading up the HTML text and it's loading it on top of this image. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. It's the non-programmer's approach to making a web, to making an app actually, using HTML and CSS. But you know, it's not a bad thing if you don't have programming skills and you want to make an iOS app. You can do the same thing on Android, because it's the same thing on the BlackBerry platform. It works the same way. So what do you need PhoneGap for? Because people can't figure out this. They don't want to install. PhoneGap's for people who can't even install Xcode. You can't get Xcode installed. You can't get, the developer tools for Android installed. So you use this package, this interface to write it, and you use the PhoneGap to take your website and turn it into the app. So I figure if you can get this far, you can just use a web view and do the same thing. You could put JavaScript in here, PHP files, HTML files. You just load it up into the supporting folders, or actually anywhere from the app. Call the files inside of the app, load them up into views, and you're doing website development, really. You're not programming in Objective-C. But this is Objective-C programming, so I'm not going to show you very much more of that, but I just thought I'd point that out. So I'm going to stop this video. I will upload this zip file. This is another website project just for people who are curious about it. I'll upload it along with the video so you can play around with it if you want. But that's done for this topic.